Good afternoon, my time. Good evening in Europe. And I have no idea where you're at, Joe. I don't know what time it is, but glad to see you here. This is the second video of going through wxKanban. The first video, was out this morning. I will be publishing that this afternoon with for my time. It'll be up and everybody be able to review it as they need to. Where we started the conversion, we went through some of the items on the website and basically got to a certain point. Okay. We are working on the e-business test application from PC Soft. And we've gone through and done the conversion and currently going through the conversion scope. There is some new features or a couple of new features that was suggested to me from this morning. And I went ahead and put them in. So I want to show you those real quick. So that way everybody will know where they're at. But what we did was I created a getting started area. So you can do the entire setup connections here where you can install the tools, add the dev cockpit, run your first workflow. All of that is here. Getting started with wxKanban on the website and in the help, both. Okay. So you've got this available. That'll take you through each and every step to get things going. I went through this in the video, but in order for me to actually do it from VS Code install and all, I would have to destroy my own system to do it. So I kind of avoided that and put this up instead. I've also created a full help file for the entire wxKanban that I'm wiring in at the moment, and that'll be available also. And any page you're on will let you look at it, and you'll also be able to do that from VS Code as well. So this is how you can get in, get everything set up. If you've never been in any of this, it'll walk you through everything you need to get started with. Okay. Now, where were we here? We have gone through a couple of sections where we had done the conversion, done the database conversion, as far as bringing it in here to documentation. We've done all of that, and every bit of that is currently in the pre-convert, where this is where it read the actual file generated we got from the script, from the IDE, the text document, and split everything out, created all of these MD files in order to be able to start working with it. And then from there, there's quite a few of them. Let me just easier to do it this way. You've got the rebuild here that has the database changes, which has the ER diagram I went over, and the schema for Postgres, which actually creates all the tables and everything else because we chose Postgres. The pages are here, which is all of this TSX is TypeScript. And what it's doing is it's defining what fields are there and any code that belongs within the fields. And the final thing is the procedures, which is your global procedures that you have, your query section, and your reports, which actually has one report in it. So all of that's done, and what it's been going through when we ended up stopping earlier was it was going through the build scopes for the new development that you're going to do. Okay. And we went through the baseline stuff, which is your initialization of the program, and I wanted to go through the database a little bit with you. The database will go through and look for any gap pass. Now, this does this for every scope that's created. It will analyze what you have created and say, okay, based upon where you were and where you want to be, these are the areas that we need to take a look at and we need to make decisions on. Okay. So it's gone through, and what it's done is it will try to make the best case guess, and it's very accurate on the guess. But it'll go through each one of these and say, okay, you got a review with a date, varchar 50. That's going to be a date field instead, title varchar 50. Okay, go through that. And it goes through other database gaps to try to make sure that coming from HF file to Postgres or MS SQL or whichever database you've chosen, it allows you then to make sure that you can go from A to B and everything works. This is the other database gaps. This is the main part that I wanted to show you. 5 tables lack a primary key. So in other words, what happened here is that the example program that they provide up there called eBusiness does not have a primary key on product link, review vote, site configuration, order number, and archive address. Okay. It fixed it. It added primary keys for each one of them. If it took 2 fields for the primary keys, it would have done that with 2 fields as well. Okay. The unique versus duplicate flag lost on some composite keys. They can't tell a unique constraint from the performed indexes. So it deferred that for us to work with when we were going through it, when we go through the next portion of it. And it will basically tell you, says, okay, I fixed this, I fixed this, I fixed this. You need to decide on this. I fixed it, and we're going to keep this the way it looks. So when it starts to go through the next section, when you're building in the new application, it's going to say, this is an outstanding issue. How do you want to deal with it? This is where your information comes from. You're being able to understand how things should be built. Remember, AI is only as good as you, because it may know everything, but it doesn't know exactly what you're looking for and exactly what you want it to look like when it's done. Okay. And we don't get into that. All we're doing is giving it the ability to say, this is what was there. I need to move it. Okay. So the thoughts, different things that it's done. Let's go on down here, going generating and working with stuff. And it applied everything to the DDL, which is the data design logic. And then it's going to go through backend API. Now, the backend API is basically your global procedures, things like that are outside that you call from a page or a screen or something like that to do things. And what it will try to do is got two options with this. Right now, it's going to try to make it all into REST calls, which is fine. It will work just fine as REST calls. But there is another option. You can tell it that I would want to do that as MCP, Master Control Program. Basically, your application interfaces to it, and it can run anything in there, the entire add, change, delete for the application. It can run queries where you're looking for information from your database. Give me all of the customers that bought such and such, things like that. And all of these functions here, or these global procedures, would be underneath that. And in essence, whatever you call will be found, okay, this is what they're looking for, and run it instead. So you don't even need to know about them. In fact, wxKanban actually uses an MCP. It has an MCP to the website and to the database, and the orchestrator over here is what calls that when it needs to do something. and it's a totally separate piece of the project. So it's going to go through the catalog, product APIs. It's actually just building everything with it. Um, so it's right here. You can see it's doing the basket order and checkout APIs. And we can get down here. There's another part I wanted to show you before we move anything further with this. Configurations, da da da. Section payment and email integration. Right at the moment, they have webhooks and things set up for PayPal and European credit card processing. It is absolutely a simple thing to integrate in any one of a number of APIs for credit card processing. I use Stripe. It's easy to implement that. It used to take a long time to get it implemented, but it doesn't take that long anymore. And it will step you through the process. Not only will it step you through the process of getting it implemented into your application, but if you ask it, it will actually give you the detailed steps to go to that site and make the correct adjustments in there to come back and make sure that your product uses it properly. So I just wanted to say that. Sending email, of course, that has certainly changed, but there is methods to do this through Gmail that makes it pretty easy. I use it that way. Otherwise, you need to go to like Mailgun or something like that to send them out. Direct one coming out as far as individual emails. You can't do mass emailing. Would be Gmail. Okay. So here again, we go through the gap part of this. Every time it runs a scope for something, it's going to go through the gap and try to find it. So now we got resolved, fix, decide. This is something you're going to have to decide. Fix, defer, drop entirely, because we don't need to optimize the database on Postgres because it already does it anyway. Defer, fix, keep, and keep. And that's where we're on. Okay. So at the moment, all we need to do now is confirm. Now, the reason why I stopped it there was because I wanted to let it get to the point of doing the actual screens. Each screen is its own scope and its own methodology to run. So what happens is that it will go through every one of them either individually one at a time, or you can say bundle them all and just give me the gaps at the end. Depending upon the size, you can do that. The other thing is if you have a very large application, Stefano has one that's over 1,000 screens or something like that. And I have one that's 600 screens. So you're not going to be able to finish a scope when it interacts with you if you're doing 600 screens. You're just not. So there's a save and continue portion of this where you can tell it save where you're at. And then when you come back the next day and fire it up, you say, let's start from there. And it will start and continue on until you're finished with all the scopes. So let's say foundation scopes are done. Mobile collapse, mobile desktop. How would you like to handle the caption export? We're going to proceed with inferred labels. Now, what that means is there are certain buttons and stuff that don't really have a label to them, but it's going to infer what they probably should be. I do this first. So that way I don't need to worry about it because it's going to be different buttons for me anyway. So I just go ahead and infer it so it has some kind of name to it and maybe hopefully help it. And so it's going to actually derive the labels from the control names, some context, some flags, whatever it can, and try to figure out what the best name for it should be. These are the ones that pop up if you're in English that come up in French. things like that. The internal messages and stuff that's there that is gets put in from there. Now you got to. Here we go with the page scopes. It's going to find each one of the items within it. It's going to generate all those, and it says, okay, do we approve this one to move the gap past or just any section? Uh, let's go to the gap pass. So we can go through and see if there's any gaps in this particular one. Okay, so now this keeps going each and every time for every screen that you have out there. As you can see, what I'm saying in the gap on this one, I'm going to keep the title in mode title. That's fine. It is a timed splash intro, and we need to decide whether or not the home dated UX adds a click, hurts the SEO, or mark it as non-SEO. So we'll be able to handle that one. We fix the auto direct. We fix the no main promotion, and we drop the refresh the frequency on it. Okay. So we'll do the all recommended and let it go on. And so we just type in yes and go to the next one. Now, each one of these are interactive to you as it goes through each one. And when you get going a little bit here, this is where we say do all and give gaps and when finished. Okay. Now, in doing this, what I'm telling you is say, okay, we don't need to go through this all the time. I want to see what's at the end of this project, so just go ahead and convert everything and then show me the gaps at the end. And it will continue to run through each one of them. Now, what is a gap? Well, that's the difference between what it built and where it is now. See, understood. Switching to batch mode, you'll generate all the remaining page report scopes autonomously and give you one consolidated gap report at the end. The page 005 is an example, back office CRUD page, characteristics, values, things like this. Given 67 pages remain, he's going to fan this out across parallel agents. In other words, instead of just using a single agent, he's going to use some agents underneath the cover and try to do as many as he can as quickly as he can. That is all based upon your machine and what it's capable of doing. If your machine is decent and powerful enough, it'll do 10 or 15 at a time. So it won't take that long to be done doing it in a batch mode. I don't recommend, trying to do batch mode in creating a brand new application because you've got a lot of things to think about when you're doing a brand new scope for an application brand new. But in a conversion item, batching it through is probably the easiest way. Then you can figure out the gaps on it and go from there, or at least know what they are when you get to this starting to create the specs and everything for the actual application that you're going to deal with. Feel free to ask me any questions, okay, as we go through this. There have a chat up here in the top. So if you have a question, throw it out there so everybody can see it. That is all being captured as well. And so you'll be able to have that when we save this and produce the video to review later as also. That's why it's called a Q&A session. Yes, I will do a session where I create a brand new application from scratch. I have one, actually have two, three to do. So I'll show you exactly how to do that. One of them is easily enough to start over because it's still fairly new. Um, and then we go there. It's not a hard process. In fact, when you review the first video this morning, there are steps in there where I'm doing setting up for a new session, but I haven't gone through the whole thing. This is the reason why I wanted to have these Q&A sessions basically all weekend, because I'm going to go through a conversion. Then I'm going to show a few things about after you convert and in that off of another application that I've got already being built, which is called Yap Chat. And then we'll start off with a brand new application and go through that and get it to a point where it's ready to be tested and things like this, a small one. And hopefully by the end of Sunday evening, Monday morning type thing, we've got enough done that everybody's got a good idea of where they're going and they're ready to get started. Now, one of the things I went through this morning that we can go through while this is finishing is we have this WX over here that you can see. And what that is, it's going to run slower, much slower because of running the background processes. You have a cockpit in here that shows you everything. Okay. It has frequently asked questions and what the answers are for each one of them. And the other part of it is that if you have a question that is not answered, you let me know. It'll come back here in the FAQs. I am currently putting in this area the full-blown help for the website and VS Code, both how to use what we're doing in VS Code. So that'll be in here as well. That includes check-in and check-out features, things like this. These are little videos we have up there. So there'll be two sections in the help, which is basically online help, and the second one will be the rest of the videos as I continue to do videos. They'll be there so you can watch them if you want to. You've got all of the standard controls or standard commands here to do everything you got. The WX conversion, which is what we're doing in that first video this morning, and the conversion scope, which is what we're in the midst of still doing. Then you have the validate scope. Now that one there is used in both places. It's used also here, and it is the one that says these are the things you miss. These are the gaps in your logic that you need to deal with, so that way you come out with an excellent product. And the final thing, obviously, is implement. Implement is say, go write me the code. It's going to take whatever specs and other stuff that you've generated, and you get to implement it, and you're off and running. Okay. And we're going to get to go through every one of these before it's over with. It's just these meetings, there's no way for me to go through an entire thing in one meeting. It's just absolutely no way. So we're going to continue to batch these out a little bit at a time to make sure everybody gets a chance to take a look at it. Okay. The other part is there's going to be help in here. This is going to have a third section. We've got a bug, a suggestion. So if you're working on something and it just doesn't work right, you click on this and it'll give you a bug, which sends it back to me and says, here's the issue. And then I can triage it and correct the problem. Also a suggestion. If there's something you want to suggest to me, feel free to do so. I have no problem in that. This morning is a prime example. A full-blown help system and the startup, both of them done in 2.5 hours. I've never known anything I could generate a complete help system out of the application in 2 hours. Just no way. Okay. So, and the third one will be up here, and what that will be is help. You got a question you want to ask. And where that's going to come in is it's going to search through the existing help to see if they can find you an answer. If it cannot find you an answer, it'll refer the question directly to me. If I am up and working, which is quite a bit, I will answer that question, and not only will it display or come back to you, but it will also save it in memory as part of the help system so that way it can reference it later. And the whole idea behind this portion is somewhat to put this in your own applications. Now, I don't know that you would do the bug suggestion thing, but I do have it automatically, if any internal errors happen, send it directly to me that I can deal with. And it comes back in that my feedback up here. And that my feedback is telling me, okay, here's the things that happen. You need to triage this and figure out what the problem is. I'm making a skill to do that in your application. So if you want to use it in your application, all you have to do is say, yeah, I want to do that. And it will put in all the necessary information to trap any errors that you have so it doesn't affect your customers and let you know there's a problem. If it is a hard crash type problem, it will tell the customer, I'm sorry, we can't do that right now. There's an issue. We've sent it to support. That kind of thing, which is a nice little feature. It's something that I haven't done much. So we go through this. There's a couple things there to work with, which is nice. And then when you're done with it, you can just close it, is what you do. And you're back to where you are. Um, it's also going to have the, the online help, which we already talked about. Do I have that yet? Just a moment here. Okay, where are we at? Batch 8, scope surface checkout, its flow structure. It's going through 12 scopes are written so far. Yep, still moving along. There's 79, 8 folded mobile. It's going to continue through. Okay, so now it's done. See, it did 71 scopes and 8 mobile through this process. And it's going to be going through each one of them just to find the gaps through the whole section. That's not bad in speed. That's probably 5 minutes or 10 minutes maybe in the area to do 71 screens. So you can extrapolate that out based upon what you're at and know about how long that will take for you to convert all the scopes in your system. And all those will be listed under specs. This is important because once you finish this conversion, everything you're going to work from is in the specs area. This is a reference for prior. You won't need the rebuild at again unless it needs to go back and look for something. This becomes the Bible that you work from here on out. Okay. So each one of these that comes back is a process that need to happen. It has to work with this. And one of the things that we can do with this as far as is to generate what you call a dev spec. And that says, okay, based upon how we do this, this is how this spec needs to happen. And that is also a skill that's in here that does that automatically from the time you start creating specs. It does not do it from the scopes as much because there's not enough there for it to know what needs to be done first and what doesn't, but it will go through that. Okay, so here's your gap report MD. Okay. Security tells you where you got possible issues with injection. I got validate order payment, quality cleanup, things like that. Open decision needing your input, discount model, variations, things like this. And that'll come up when you do the next. Okay. Build stack is the is saying, okay, I want this kind of converted to whatever stack I've chosen, which I think we did two of them. And it's going to create that, make sure that that is there. So we're going to do that, and it takes care of some cosmetic things. And then we're ready to actually start looking and developing. Okay, and then we're going to go through that. And I'm going to do a screen because that's the next thing we really like to take a look at. Um, and we don't have to run the server, which is the back end. We can just see what the screen looks like. In other words, as we move this through. Now, you have in the first video, we went through setting up um, the look and feel. And we're going to make this web only responsive. Okay, and you got a web and native both. Okay, so let's do that. Then you got to ask what the rendering is going to be at Next.js, Remix and React, Router 7, or React and Vibe. Okay. Now, it will have some recommended, okay, things in there. You can go however you wish on it. This is for SEO, public catalog, building routing APIs, image optimization. And this is good for e-commerce. That's the reason why it's up there. And this e-business is an e-commerce site. So we'll go ahead and pick that and go on. And then standalone node service, Express, Fastify, Drizzle. Drizzle is what you interface with the database with, kind of keeps how things work. And we'll go ahead and use that as well. And that's the back end. And we submit those answers, let it go through that process. Now, some of these things and I should have done that. And I apologize. If we get another question, I will do this. They'll have an other down there, but it won't let you choose but one. I've gone down there and the other says I want 1 and 2. So I can do both. Okay. This is the one that I'm talking about. I can go through other and say, okay, I want modern e-commerce or keep it clean default and polished marketing. Both. I can do both. Okay. The other thing is, and this is kind of where things go, if you're not sure about what you want, you can type in explain the difference between modern E and land book. Because you might be interested in those too. Now, when you submit the answers, what it's going to do is it's going to then say, oh, okay, you want me to explain the difference, and it will tell you. So don't think that AI won't give you an answer or you got to make a choice or a herd through it. It's easy enough to say, hey, give me the difference between the two so I can pick the one I really want to work with. Okay. And then it comes right back to the question of what you want. So what did it do? People, shopping, browsing, and it's optimized for that. This one here for land book is more of first impression, brand story, converting a visitor to a lead and sign up also. So you can go through each one of these here as you go through it and give it, oh man, I'd rather do the land book because I want to be able to email them more. Things like this. You can go through all of that process. Okay. Yes, we will do the deployment part. In fact, I promise you, we will do a deployment of one of them before we get done. So I'm going to choose the land book because I kind of like the way that looks, okay, or like the way that is. And so what it's going to do is it's going to go, okay, I really think I want the polished marketing one rather than the modern e-commerce. Because I not only want it to be marketing, but I want to be able to gather their email addresses, things like that, so that way I can keep up a conversation going with a possible customer in the future. Going to let it go that direction. Okay. Now that's going to write it in what we call the stack MD. Okay. And it kind of builds that up so that way it knows how you are looking to develop whatever product you want to develop. It does an excellent job with it. I mean, to be honest with you, wxKanban did not have all these tools yet when I started. So it was all vibe coding for about the first month. And then I started doing these things and it came out very nicely. I thought it came out very nicely. Now it's not 100%. I'm still putting in little pieces here and there, but it is good. So you got the conversion, markdown 75 React stubs. We've got 71 scope documentation with a gap report saying these are the things you got to deal with. And you've updated your build stack. Now, the next two tier wants an RBAC role model, the $10 product decision and the gap report, promotion, discount, model variations, things like this, non-functional targets. Do you want me to draft the RBAC role model? Yes, I do. Let's do that. Okay. It's going to try to get you, since you've chosen that stack, of what you need to build in order to make that happen. And it will help you through it. It has a bunch of different areas that it looks through to find the best case or the best case scenarios to build your application, even if it is a conversion. A lot of the applications that we have out there, we've kind of tuned around to be one certain thing because that was kind of the environment we had to choose from. We don't have that environment to choose from now. We can go anywhere we want. We can do anything where we want. As an example, the wxKanban was an exe program because I couldn't make it do what I wanted on the web. Now it's a web-based program. I don't have the problem anymore. It has done that. I'm doing things that would have taken me weeks to figure out well, maybe not weeks, but a long time to figure out in web dev to do the same thing. And the limitations of the controls and things like that to get around. And I've got some complicated systems at my office up there that are going to take advantage of this. Okay, so we got two-tier split, operate the store versus configure the store, and they're going to get the role models, and we're going to get down to hopefully where we can actually start doing one screen and taking a look at it and seeing what the results are before the hour is finished. I'm trying to keep these down to 1 hour each, but end up when we're done, you'll have 6 hours of videos going through each of these pieces, which is what I want to do. Override price. Let's go. Let's just pick one. Okay, reconcile and preserve. Yep. We're going to merge and keep. GDPR. Okay, we're going to do that. Soft delete. Require prior purchase. No. Allow all. We're going to allow anybody can review. Okay. And go from there. Now you see that I went back to the gap report and wanted you to make a decision on that $10 open product decision there. I skipped it. Okay. Any questions so far? It's doing all the work for me, believe me, but it's the biggest thing that we get out of it is we know what we want. We know what the design we want. You've done them before. And you'll find that you are going to see where, oh, I can do that too. I can do that too. And you end up putting a lot of new pieces in your application to upgrade it that you were not able to do prior to now. So let's give it just a break here. Now, because of your choices, it had to add a field in there, verified purchase Boolean. One of the things about it is you don't have to worry about the conversion. We went through this morning about how to export to JSON all your data out of your hyperfile if you're using hyperfile. If you're not using hyperfile, then all you have to do tell it is we're not doing the database. That you can pull directly from my current database, either Postgres, MS SQL, whatever it may be. And then we need to continue. So by doing that, it's telling you how to do the export to JSON. I think it's on 24, there's an export to JSON, but I definitely on 25, there's an export to JSON. And in essence, what that does is it takes all the data out of your hyperfile, puts it in JSON format, and then all I have to do here is tell it, hey, load these JSON in the appropriate tables and point it at the directory where all the JSON is, and it will go through and put all of that data in your new database. And I'm serious. That's all you have to do. Import data from the directory into new database, and it will go through and do each one of them. And does not take long either. Okay. Okay, there's program gaps are all resolved for that section. We're good. That's right. Okay, so let's clear the context, which is clear conversation. My suggestion is you do that ever so often. If you see a little circle show up down here, what that's telling you is you're getting to the point where it's going to have to do a context compression. That can cost you. So if you are done with a section and you need to keep going with something else, then clear the conversation, start the next piece. That's what I'd do. Okay. Let's see if we can find. Okay, site configuration. That's a good one. So I want to analyze scope. And what you do is you right mouse click on this and say, give me the relative path and put it here. See if there's anything it finds in there that we need to deal with right away, because we're going to use this one to get started and show the specs and everything that comes through it. And here's the kind of thing with the specs. It's not just the specs on how to develop it, but it's use cases. It's a way to test it, all of this. So it'll work through different problems dealing with it. I've got a problem here sometimes. Okay. Oh, okay. We've done this though. Hang on just a second. If you have MCP issues, sometimes you have to get up here and MCP, MPC servers, and see if you can. Well, I'm connected. That's actually, where is it? Okay, so it did not get there. All right. We'll go ahead with the manual review. Do a list effort. And I will figure out what the problem is when I got a little bit more time. Usually what it means is it wants to install or it needs to refresh and get the MCP back up and running. So we'll deal with that here momentarily. You do have to remember you are working with two totally separate products. So it may be because I published. That's right. Check MCP, wxExperts for running And if running reconnect. Yeah, if I do an update, sometimes that happens. You can type in anything you want while it's still running. It'll pick it up on the next time it runs around. And what I'll end up doing because of this, I will come up here underneath the WX and have a button that says validate and check installation. So that way nothing's missing. It's the first time that's happened to me. So that's what happens. Okay, I'll let it continue. All right. And see, server is running, MCP returns okay, service is up there. Auth gated, problem is purely this cloud co-session has no WX server registered. Okay, so let's register it. All right, create. It's going to do it anyway. So that should have been put in there with the kit. There you go. So I'll put this in the help file with it. Let it finish this up. We'll get going again. There we go. We're connected now. Okay, so it wants me to restart Claude Code to bring this up to par. So what we have to do, okay. The easiest way to do that is literally just get out and come back in. So I'm going to get out, minimize this, get this out of the way, hit my ID, and come right back in again. And then what it's going to do is it's going to go through its startup procedures, which we went through this morning too when it was starting up on a brand new kit. And start the orchestrator, check the kit version. If there's an upgrade, we'll go through that momentarily here and install the cockpit, any changes to the cockpit. And then it comes right back where you're at. Okay. So now we have to tell Claude that it's there. And it's loading still. It's still loading servers. Give it a few moments. There we go. And we're connected. See, so wxKanban connected. That's all I need to know. Okay. You are connected now. All right. Okay. I want to know what the scope analysis says. And that all comes up underneath a directory under the specs, which is analysis. And here's the findings that it comes up with. My suggestion is that you do this each time, okay? Because this is going to tell you things that you need to correct inside your what's been converted. Not everything is perfect on the conversion because of the differences between the way PC Soft does its underlying development. It uses its own tools and stuff to do things. But on the other stand, this will help you make sure that when you're moving it, it comes out correctly to start with. So you got these high one cross scope conflict was saying, okay, the map bucket, text basket, and several other pieces, group list company, shipping, different pieces like that. So you have a little conflicts underneath there that you can deal with. The get put API is guaranteed is a guaranteed 404. So you're guaranteed that you're going to blow something up when you try to run the basket because it's conflicted across multiple scopes. So we have to cure that. You got a mediums, you got low to mediums, you got low, and all the way down to just info. Okay. In order to correct those, okay, you can say, what are the next actions? A1 and A2 are the actionable edits. Let's gap pass fixes that reconcile in 35. AI will bite at implementation. Okay, and A3 is a design gap to resolve before the config API is built. Those are the two that you have to do, otherwise you ain't going to go forward. Or at least when you run it, it's going to blow chunks. So let's go ahead and do that. Do A1 and A2. Okay. Now, what this does is it goes through and says, okay, I got to make each one of these scopes that reference this, however many scopes it is reference this, and I'm going to make this kind of a function that runs through each one of them. Excuse me just a sec. So in doing so, it saves you time and it saves what you call code drift. Anybody that's been in code programming for the longest time knows that when you repeat code in multiple areas, sooner or later one of them gets changed and the other two don't. And now you've got what they call code drift. We fix that by making them into global procedures and call it global procedures, use cases in there, things like that. Here it knows that it's there, so it makes a function out of it, makes its own TSX function, and that way every one of them drops into the same place every time. And that process is then done inside there. Okay. It saves you time. It saves you the problem of having code that is mismatched across the application. And the larger the application, the more chances that will happen. It saves you the ability to know what all scopes have to use that same function. And you can actually search for it too if you want to. That was one of the things that I have in there after you've done the specs. So once that's finished, the findings A8 are untouched. Let me also tackle A3. The homepage candidate list has no API REST. Okay. Let's now if you're sitting here and want to move into a different area just for that, just tell it save that for later. For later. Need to get landing page screen or admin. We were looking at admin page reviewed. And what it'll do is it'll save it in memory and it won't cost you anything to bring it right back up again. Okay. That's correct. Let's see. So it's saying which one you talking about. Scope. Sometimes the scope. It is like discussing things with a junior programmer where you have to explain everything to get exactly what you want, but he's brilliant enough that you don't need to know everything that he's doing. So let's look over here. Yeah, saying the users or the main. So we went and found both scopes that we're looking for. So let's do the users because we got to have those. So if you're ambiguous in what you're doing, it's going to say, well, I got two scopes to do that. Which one you want to work with? It is absolutely impressive what things can do. Now, you don't have to use Claude. I did not make this thing for Claude only. I like using Claude because I've been using it since the beginning, but it is not mandatory. There are some other AI and LLMs that are close to the same speed and abilities. The key is the stuff that's built in here to keep the guardrails up for those to keep it moving along and doing what you want it to do at the end. Okay. Um, and that's really the key thing that I can tell you. Later on, I plan on having my own development LLM up here on, in a machine and my own AI in there and doing the entire things from there. Okay. Okay. AI1, A2. Okay. Okay. Now the deal about this is what it actually is doing is actually updating both scopes. It says I've got a conflict between two of them, so I'm gonna fix both of them for you. Okay. And it moves forward that way. So it's a lot of times doing this now. One of the things I plan on doing, and many of us may take advantage of that. I've been working on another thing called Yap Chat, and that will have the ability to have that orchestrator talk to you on your phone remotely, and you can manage what is going on here using it. So if you happen to be out and about, going quick to the grocery store or something like that, and it pops up on your phone saying, "Hey, I got a question for you," and it gives you the question, you can answer it, and it'll keep working. In other words, I want to have more than one thing working at a time. Okay, so let's stop here. Let's create specs for 003. Now, every one of these has a number in front of them. You can see that I've got a number in front of each one of them. That is a way for it to find it without you having to type in the whole thing. So I wanted to create specs for 003 because that's the one we're looking at. That's back in. I'm sorry. 036 rather. So it's 36. And that makes it easier to make it shorter, typing because my typing is not the most fantastic thing in the world. So the shorter the deal, the better off I like it. So we'll have a set of specs to look at first momentarily, which is important. We want to be able to do that. And you see it's running that skill right now on that one. And I want to go through that. And then that is going to stop this one until tomorrow morning, which we will take it to the next step. We will try to get I'll get we'll get the back end running and work on two screens in the morning, in my morning anyway. That's about noon's European time. Um, in doing that, we can actually look at it and maybe get a publish done at the same time. What about the token cost? Let me tell you about my token cost. Now, understand I've been working on stuff since 6 a.m. this morning. Okay. So I've been at it for about 6, 7 hours. And you can find out about that is costs. I don't know, it's a usage. So I want to see what the usage is. Right at the moment, this session, I've only used 10%. For the entire week, I've only used 8%. Okay. Well, let me explain how that works. Because of the way that the guardrails are around this entire thing when I do things, I want to make sure that I keep things going. If you notice, you see this little window down here. This is a desktop switcher, allows me to switch over to different desktops. And yes, that is my truck. Uh, but I can run 3 Visual Studios at a time. I could do more, but 3 is about all I can manage personally. And what it allows me to do is I've already set up everything that it has its own, what they call PIDs, processes running in the background, and they don't interfere with each other. Okay. So it allows me then to run multiple ones at the same time. I have not yet gone over, I think the max I've done is maybe 20%, 15, 20% for the weekly 7 days. And you understand that starts again in 2 days. So I've used 8% for the week total in tokens. That's cheap. That's dirt cheap. Uh, so I personally, because as many things as I'm working on, I have a $200 a month subscription to Claude. I could easily move it down to a $100 subscription. I do not recommend using the pay by token. It'll kill you. Use the subscription. Subscription's better. And use this because it'll keep things reasonably cost throughout. There are other generations like Gemini and them that are cheaper that could help you, but it's up to you. It really doesn't matter. Okay, it's your choice. Okay, if you notice here, 48% came from the sub agents. Well, that's because I told it to do them all and not do them one at a time. But that's because I'm willing to do that. I don't care. Okay. Hope that answered that question. Now let's go here. When you do it in pieces or group the same issues, that's correct. Nico's actually correct. Nico is, and he's a good one to research too, because he converted a mobile over in 2 days, a mobile program over in 2 days from Windows. So he's done a heck of a job. So keep his name in mind too. Okay. Um, and he's right. The same context, if I have 70 screens to go through, it's going to use basically the same context for all 70 screens. So you don't use excess tokens once for each screen. It doesn't do that very much. Okay. Now I have come to where it was starting to look like it wanted to compress the context. And what I do is I find a stopping point, I clear the conversation, and then continue from there. Okay. All right. Specs. Still in project scope. Needs to write them out. I'll write them out momentarily, and then that's a spot I gotta stop because I want to take you through the specs. The biggest directories you gotta that you want to keep no matter what happens is the specs directory. You can go ahead and keep the pre-convert and the rebuild. Those are the ones that basically are yours. Everything else is ways to work around everything you need to do. Okay. Okay, so now here goes. There it is, creating them. Okay. All right, so I did that, did that. Okay. Um, I stop here. Okay, so there we go. Now it's got a set of specs, stuff with it, a few things we got to critical, we got to deal with, some to-dos, and it's going to write that out to disk like it's supposed to. And I'll show you what those are because it's going to have use cases in there for testing. One of the things with it is that expanding upon the use cases, adding to them, saying I need a use case for this, use case for that. All that's going to do is help your testing because the first Q&A before it goes out is going to be the AI agent running through what they call smoke tests for one, and two, real tests using the use cases. It will find the issues from there to move forward. Okay. So always important, keep that kind of going with the use cases. So you can actually have a real secure system to start with instead of constantly debugging after you've generated debug, generate debug, generate debug. You want to have them go through it first, and then you come in and do the final polishing and little things that you know you need to do. Um, to be honest with you, and I've done that. It's worked out great. Okay, so let's look here. Come on, open it up. Okay, so here is this is the so I've got a spec. Let me get this out the way. And it goes through and says, here is the back office. Here's the actors. Let me get this out your way. Your success matrix. So that way, so this is the way I know it's going to be successful. Scope boundaries, things that are out of scope. In other words, in customer accounts, things that it doesn't do in here. There's open questions, which means you can deal with that. Data and API, front end components, any behaviors and events that it needs to happen, integration, and you got an analysis of gap paths here that you need to deal with. Okay. Now, we're not completely done. Here's all the tasks that needs to be done. It creates these tasks to be processed and worked with. Now, what that happens is that that's how you kind of get to know where things are. Let me show you real quick here. We're going to go over time. That's all right. I don't mind. I get out of the way. I'm going to open up another one so you can see what I'm talking about. And I'm going to open up Yap Chat just kind of show you because there's a lot of open issues with it that I'm still dealing with. Okay. Okay. Now, when this fires up, I can get over here in the WX and I'll show you one of the key pieces about this that makes it great, in my opinion. And what happened when I had this is I was going through and I couldn't understand why it wasn't finished. It said it was finished, but it wasn't finished. How did we find that out? Well, right here. When I generated and told it, okay, show me anything that's not done yet. Well, I've got it set up to where it shows you by the scopes. That's each one of these scopes. And then it shows you all of the tasks underneath that are not finished. So if I'm looking at something and I say, why aren't you not moving? How come you're not done? The tasks that they hadn't finished will be here. Now, it's informational because I would tell it, finish the tasks for 001. And it will then run through and complete all the rest of the tasks for 001. It's not that I hit one and tell it to do something, but I can look at it. But in essence, what I'm wanting to do is, hey, you need to fix this, finish it, get it finished, and go on. So that's what happens. That gives you a listing of where you're at constantly in the application and how things are, along with anything else that you need to do. It keeps you aware of what is not done yet. That's the key of having the cockpit. Not only the help and everything else is great, but that part there, once you've got specs and they all been pushed and everything like that, it absolutely helps. The life cycle is the other part about this. Okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the pretty view of that. This basically tells the life cycle system where you're at in the overall project. Excuse me. Um, and it creates one that you can see online of where things are at. It's telling you right now you're in the phase of scoping and you're in planning still a little bit and design. You're still in design because that's the number one. Okay. What it does is it says, okay, you just created this, so you're still in design mode. We're not moving any further. That's fine. And that's what it does on those Kanban panels. As it moves across, it'll automatically move to the next one when it completes one complete item. Any other questions I can answer for you? Okay, I will generate this as a video also. By the way, all you need to do is for this right here to upgrade, if one comes up, is come over here to Claude and paste it in there and hit enter. Now let it do its thing. Um, like I said, I will generate this and put the video up online. So to be two videos up today, one will be this one again and the previous one where we started this process. Tomorrow morning, I will take it through further, some more additional things, creating the database, getting that done. I'll create the database and have it generate all of the tables, and we'll go through that and what it looks like and what happened. Okay. And then hopefully we'll get to that point either tomorrow morning, maybe publish, or at least by the next one we will. Okay. Thank you for showing up. I really appreciate it. Hopefully this is getting you closer to understanding what we're doing and what we're attempting to do. And good luck. Come on. I'm here to help you. There are several other people that in my beta group that are willing to jump in there and help. And I think that it's a great way to get into the mainstream. Okay. So y'all be good or be good at it. We will see you later.